ED Life Science Academy for the happy learning. Now, this is the second part of the animal tissues. Now, in earlier lecture, we learned that what are the tissues, definition of tissues, then mainly the types of tissues in animal case, and the study of tissues, that is called as the histology, and there are mainly the 4 types of the tissues present in animal, that is the epithelial tissues, connective tissues, muscular tissues, and nervous tissues. Now we see that the epithelial tissues, epithelial means the outer, uppermost and the lowermost layer of the tissues called as a epithelial tissues, which are the mostly the protective, absorptive in nature, and shows and again further get divided into the simple epithelial tissues and the compound epithelial tissues. Now we completed the part of the simple epithelial tissues. In this simple epithelial tissues, there are the various types of the tissues are present, that is the first is the squamous epithelial tissues, which are found in the blood vessels, alveoli, and the function is the absorption, transportation, filtration, and the protection. Now next, second type is the cuboidal epithelial tissues, which is again absorptive and secretory in nature. Now third is the columnar epithelial tissues, which shows the goblet cell, absorptive cell, and nucleus is placed at the base. Now next is the fourth is the ciliated epithelium. Now ciliated epithelium and the in columnar epithelium, there is a presence of the microvilli, development of the microvilli at the upper portion, whereas in case of the ciliated epithelial cell, there is a development of the cilia. Now next is the glandular epithelial tissues. There are the exocrine glands and endocrine glands are present, and these exocrine glands shows the presence of the duct, that is these are the duct bearing glands called as the exocrine glands, whereas a ductless gland called as endocrine glands. Now next is the last one is the sensory epithelial tissues, which senses the or get stimulate the any action. Now in case of these are present in nose called as olfactory, then in air auditory in the form of auditory air, and in eyes these are the in the form of photoreceptors. This is the basic information we see in detail. And last one of the simple epithelial tissue is the germinal epithelial tissues, which shows the presence of reproductive cells. Now next is we see the compound epithelial tissue. Up to this part we see the epithelial, we start the studying of the epithelial tissues. Epithelial tissues are of 2 types, simple and the compound. Now we start the compound epithelial tissues. These are the compound epithelial tissues are of 2 types. These are of 2 types. First is the striated epithelium, and second is the transitional epithelium. Now what is the difference between the striated epithelium and the transitional epithelium? In striated epithelium, nucleus is present in a stratum germinativum. Cell at the free surface become a flat and lack of the nucleus called as a stratum cornum. Now function is the protection, for example epidermis of skin, esophagus, cornea, vagina and the rectum. This is the position. These are the present, these tissues are present at these organs. Now what are the transitional epithelium? The structure of transitional epithelium is the same like the striated epithelium. The cell can undergo the change in their shape and structure depending on the degree of stretches. Now function is the distension of the organ, and example is the urinary bladder. we see the basic difference, that is the what are the compound epithelial tissues. The more than two cells or tissues are forms get aggregate to form the compound epithelial tissues. Now for the connection between the two cells, there are some projections or some junctions are present, and these junctions of between the two cells called as the cell junctions. Now here are the various types of the cell junctions are present according to their function and the working or the need and the requirement. Now we see the one by one. That is, first is a tight junction. Its name itself suggests its nature, tight. They are very close to each other without any space. This is the tight junction. Now this junction maintain the cell polarity and prevent the lateral diffusion of protein and ions. It maintain the cell polarity. त्याचे जे पोल्स आहेत, जसं आपल्या बॉडीमध्ये हेड अँड फूट, त्याचबरोबर प्लांट्समध्ये शूट अँड रूट, अर्थच्या बाबतीमध्ये नॉर्थ अँड साऊथ हे जे पोल मेंटेन केले जातात, त्याच पद्धतीने प्रत्येक सेलची पोलॅरिटी मेंटेन करण्यासाठी टाईट जंक्शन्स काम करतात. ते सेलला हलू देत नाहीत, त्याची पोझिशन फिक्स ठेवतात. त्याचबरोबर इट प्रिव्हेंट्स द लॅटरल डिफ्युजन ऑफ प्रोटीन अँड आयन्स. एका सेलमधून दुसऱ्या सेलमध्ये प्रोटीन्स आणि आयन्स हे ट्रान्सफर होऊ देत नाही. त्याचबरोबर नेक्स्ट आहे ते म्हणजे गॅप जंक्शन. नाव नेम itself suggests its position. Gap junction, it shows the gap or the space in between two cells where these junctions are present. Now this intercellular connection allows the passage of ion and the small molecules between the cell as well as exchange of chemical message between the cell. ज्या ठिकाणी दोन सेल्समध्ये, इथं एक सेल आहे आणि इथं दुसरी सेल आहे, या दोन्ही सेलमधली ही जी स्पेस आहे इंटरसेल्युलर स्पेस, तर यामध्ये जे जंक्शन्स प्रेझेंट असतात त्याला म्हणतात गॅप जंक्शन्स. आणि ते वेगवेगळे सिग्नल एका सेलपासून दुसऱ्या सेलपर्यंत सिग्नल पोहोचवण्यासाठी काम करतात. त्याचबरोबर काही केमिकल मॉलिक्युल्स गेट एक्सचेंज फ्रॉम वन सेल to the another cell. This is called as a gap junction. Now next one is the adherence junction. Now adherence म्हणजे ते कशाला तरी पकडून ठेवतायत, adhere करतात. It is involved in the various signaling pathway and transcriptional regulation. वेगवेगळे सिग्नल्स पास करण्यासाठी या ठिकाणी तुम्हाला दिसतंय, this is the microvilli. These are the structures made for the increase the area of absorption, and here is some notch is present and there is a gap between the two cells. This is the one cell and this is the second cell, and here these cells get adhered, त्यांनी पकडून ठेवलेला आहे with the junctions called as the adherence junction. Now next is the desmosomes. These are the structure. This is the structure of desmosome. We see this is the desmosome. Here again this is the one cell and this is the another cell. This is the one cell and this is the second cell. Now desmosomes, it provides the mechanical strain to the epithelial tissues, cardiac muscle and meninges. This blue part, this is the desmosomes, which mainly work for the mechanical strength. Then next is the hemidesmosomes. Hemidesmosomes allows the cell to strongly adhere to the underlying basement membrane. This maintains the tissue homeostasis by signaling. म्हणजे एका सेलपासून दुसऱ्या सेलमध्ये जे सिग्नलिंगने कनेक्शन मेंटेन केलं जातं त्याला होमिओस्टॅसिस असं म्हणतात. हे मेन फंक्शन कुणाचं आहे? हेमिओडेस्मोसोमचं आहे. Now we see the next point is the connective tissue. This is the another type. Here is the epithelial tissues. Tissues are completed. In this lecture we see the compound epithelial tissues where the more than the two cells are present and for the maintain connection between these tissues, there are some junctions are present or connections are present, are called as the cell junctions. The cell junctions are of various types. Here are the some types of the cell junctions are present. That is the tight junction without any space. It prevent the lateral diffusion and maintain the cell polarity. Then second, this is the first cell junction, this is the second cell junction, that is the gap junction, where is the space is present, that is the intercellular space is present. These are present for the connection and the transportation or exchange of chemical messages. Then third is the adherence junction, which adhere the two cells and passes the signaling or involved in the signaling pathway as well as the transcriptional regulation. Then fourth is the desmosomes. Desmosome provides the mainly the mechanical support to the epithelial tissues, cardiac tissues. And fifth cell junction is the hemidesmosome. It also allows strongly adherence and underlying the basement membrane, and it also maintains the homeostasis by signaling. Now in next lecture we see the next type, second type of the animal tissues, that is the connective tissues in details. Thank you so much for watching this video. All the best and the happy learning.